Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Health Connection podcast. My name is Heather Crimson. I am here with my wonderful co-host, Vanessa Baldwin. And today I'm super stoked to have Dana Kippel with us. She is a phenomenon in the field of consciousness and plasma. She's a polymath, an author, a filmmaker, and also an advocate for mental health, which I love as a practicing psychotherapist of 25 years. She also talks a lot about neurodivergence. She's pioneering the study of plasma intelligence and consciousness.
Yeah.
And her work is manifesting soon this summer in a book called A New Force, Plasma Consciousness and the New Human Potential. Dana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm
Yes.
very excited.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
so excited to chat with you. Tell us how you got here. How did you get talking about plasma and writing a book about it?
I don't know. The funny thing is, I feel like what the things we plan for never happen in the same. I mean, if you told me 10 years ago I'd be doing this in plasma, I wouldn't know what you were talking about. I wouldn't know. I would be like, what? I mean, I would also, it would make so much sense to me because I've always been, different, I guess. But at the same time, I'd be like, okay. Um, but I guess like just a very brief story of how I kind of got here. Yeah, I've always just been an out of the box thinker. I've always been comfortable being myself, but I've also hid parts of myself because, trying to fit in with society, wanting to be validated, accepted. And, as you get older, you kind of realize that's all a sham. And you also go through a lot of, heartbreak and grief throughout life. And as anyone does, very human experience. And I started to find things to make me feel better in healthy ways, like, spirituality, meditation. So I started meditating, being back in my body, which I hadn't visited since I was like 5 when I was gifted and shoved it all away because I was a weirdo or a monster. Like the kids literally call me Medusa, which is so funny to think about now. Because I believed that, but it's actually a compliment. And when I started getting back my body and meditating, my intuition revisited me. And I'm
Mm.
pretty sure it opened the grief, the meditation, it opened up like a landing space for my multidimensional self. And what came with that, I feel like was my one of many my destinies, because I don't want to put myself in a box even with plasma, even though I'm obsessed with it, but like my destiny of shepherding this information about plasma, and it all just came to me. And I of course doubted it at first because it sounded legitimately insane and no one else was really talking about it. And as the years went on, the proof just kind of presented itself, and I got more and more validation along the way from experiences in myself. And now, I mean, I believe without a shadow of the doubt what I'm saying is true, and that's all that matters to me, and people resonate with it, so yay.
Wow. What an intriguing story. I love it. And I love how you've coined the term M self or multidimensional
Yeah.
self, and that the more we are able to tune into our bodies,
Mhm.
to really know ourselves, to listen, to slow down and take that space, then we will sort of be able to find our way and dial it in. And you mentioned emotion, which I'm very interested in emotions and the quantum aspects of emotion. And so you
Yeah.
talk about emotions as being, I don't know if you called it the bridge or there's some connection between,
Urge emotion.
yeah, tell me about emotion and plasma.
Yes, that's great because I just wrote that in my book today. So this is
Oh,
perfect because it's fresh
wow.
in my mind. So emotions, I call emotions are a bridge. So, even though nothing's technically separate, I like to talk about things in layers just so we can understand them in a linear way. So there's, the third dimension. Most of us are here in reality and survival. And then I see, this fifth dimensional space in my mind. It's very misty. It's more elusive. It's like a firefly you can't catch. It's a spiritual feeling, it's essence, it's where our multidimensional self, comes from, the mystery, God, whatever you want to call it. And there's
Mm.
nothing to tether it to our reality besides the fourth dimension, the inversion, the emotions. So that space for me, emotions are a bridge from the spiritual to the physical. And without emotions, all emotions, there would be no experience of the spiritual. So I think for me, where it correlates is if we don't learn how to be a window to our emotions, that any emotions that flow in and out, whether they're our own or other people's, because they all flow through us, we're in a collective. If we assign those too much to ourselves or hold on to them too much or grip them or use them as, a victim story too much, whatever it may be. The key is to feel it fully, and then let it go. And
Yes.
through that, yeah. And then through that, I'm discovering that we're healing this plasma field at the same time, this fourth dimensional liminal space. And through that, we can learn to use our emotions as tuners and harmonizers, to peek into other future possibilities, other timelines. So it becomes really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminds me of Vanessa and I just had on a really incredible homeopath who's actually more of a what would you call her? She's more of an intuitive person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She seemed pretty psychic to me.
Yeah.
She has remedies for things that are called like Sekhmet and other deity, like goddesses.
Oh,
You should look it up. It's really cool. We'll tell you about that.
Very esoteric, very cool.
yeah.
Yeah, but she talked about Dana family constellation work, which is when you actually heal your ancestral trauma
Yeah.
by using people to as I don't want to say actors, but players, I
Oh,
guess,
it works.
right? That
Yeah.
sounds like it's through the plasma medium to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. It's all, I mean, you can call it the Akashic field, you can call it whatever you want. It's plasma, like easy water, which I can get into, but plasma holds consciousness. It's the vehicle for consciousness, and all of our ancestral consciousness, all our memories are in that field. And what unlocks those is healing emotions. And yes, with the family constellations, when you put people in those spaces, the memories will fountain up inside of them because we're all accessing the plasma. The plasma is what makes it tangible to me. And I can get into why I call it plasma, but yeah, it just it complete calling it plasma for me makes all of this tangible. Why telepathy is real, why telekinesis might even be possible once we learn to obviously work with our energy fields. But yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of us who like, for the listeners who are like, wait, I'm kind of lost. Like, what is plasma? Maybe you just go there and give a little overview
Yeah.
of plasma. Because I love all the emotional stuff, and I love
Yeah.
that the family constellation is so cool. And I think of like emotions are energy in motion, right? They need to move through, and
Yeah.
you need to like let them flow. And Heather and I constantly talk about in homeopathy, and like we think one of the root causes, really main root causes of disease, is when we suppress our emotions, we stuff them down, we don't let them flow, and they're stuck inside of us. And homeopathy is a really good medium to help us move through those things, right? But tell us a little bit about what plasma is, just as a good
Yeah.
overview.
Yes, I will. And just to build on it quick, because I will forget with the homeopathy and what you're saying, because me and
Mhm.
my mom were discussing this the other day because we were arguing about it. She now with this new paradigm, what they're finding out in science, and fact check me everyone, but I think like 1 to 3% of disease is caused by genes. Yes, you can have those genes, but what activates it
Oh, of
is
course.
the emotion and the suppression. So I mean, it's like 99%. Here we have billions of money in this medical field and pharmaceuticals, almost no money in natural homeopathy and fixing root causes and psychology. And that's where it all starts. Like, are you all effing kidding me out there?
I agree,
We
thousand
need,
percent.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. We're like, we're so
good.
on that. Yeah, but yeah, 1,000,000%. Yes.
But what I'm hoping is that plasma is the, cosmic riddle and joke to all these scientists to kind of stick it to everyone in the medical field, because they're studying the thing that will actually disprove everything they're doing. So I really hope that this will give validation to what everyone is saying.
Yeah, I really hope that too. And I that appreciate your work so much for that, because a lot of, scientists will say, oh, well, homeopathy is not real, right? Because it's placebo, because it's nothing, it's just water. Well, if you understand that water has consciousness and water holds memory, frequency, energy, you understand that that's not true, and you
Yeah.
hold all that same information inside of you, right? So it's like, yeah, it's interesting.
And in science, no offense to scientists, but I think most people can admit to this if they're really searching for truth. Most data is cherry picked, and most data is from assumption. So what they call pseudoscience is exactly what they're doing. And I don't care what they say. And the realm of what we're in, the metaphysical, this plasmatic realm, it is full of paradox. It is full of more things can be true than one. It is full of non-logic. You can't just apply scientific instruments and test and prove those things. It is proven in results, and we have to start taking the the illogical more seriously, which is very hard and scary for people.
Yeah,
But
depending on what reality they're living in, depending on if they're able to go there. Yeah, a lot of
they're
people.
all assumptions. They're
Yeah.
all beliefs. And it's like, would you rather believe in a mechanistic, materialistic reality, or would you rather believe in what we're doing? And I know my answer. Um,
Absolutely. So
Mhm.
plasma is, you call it the
yeah.
fourth state of matter,
Yes, getting back
right?
to that. Thank
Mhm.
you for that. Plasma. So in science, plasma is an ionized gas. It is the fourth state of matter. That is the lens of science on the expanded, beautiful substance of plasma. What I think plasma is an intelligent fabric of reality. It goes beyond what we can physically study and see into the realm of the psychological, of the metaphysical, the realm that makes up our dreams, our thoughts, our emotions. It
Mhm.
is like a living ether. If you looked up ether in mythology, or the Akashic realm, there's so many words for it. But I think we'll prove it one day in science when we have the right tools. I just don't think we do. But it's basically just expanding and extending beyond what it is in science to a more metaphysical term, like almost like key energy that you can move and affect with your consciousness. And the way it shows up in science is that plasma is deeply affected by electromagnetic energy. And then what has the biggest electromagnetic energy in the body? The heart. So I mean, that proves right there what our heart alignment and soul alignment is what we bring into us. So it's
Mhm.
reflecting everything we're saying in metaphysics. And the more scientists study it, the more confused they get, the more they realize they can't cage it or control it. So it's
Yes.
a
Yes.
perfect bridge for science and spirituality. Like they're studying, you know, a mechanism of God. I wouldn't call it God, but they're studying the substance of the mysterious, spiritual, and it's very funny because they don't realize it. Most of them, some do. They just don't talk about it because they're scared to be laughed at.
Oh yeah, they're not even talking about in the scientific community at all, right? But
Mm-mm.
can you
But
just
I'll get private
differentiate?
messages about
Sorry.
it. I get private messages about it from people that work with plasma a lot, and I won't say who, but it will come out more and more because I know they experience very paranormal things with plasma. Yeah.
Wow, wow. I bet you do. They're needing you to hear
Yeah.
them because they
To
can't
open
go
it.
anywhere else, and you can validate them because they
Yes.
need to share it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then once I do and more people do, I think science will feel more open to do that as well. I hope so.
Hopefully, yeah. Can you differentiate between plasma and ether? Because ether comes up sometimes in the quantum health circles, but I
Yeah.
really want to just understand it from your point of view clearly.
Sure. And I do go into this in my book. I
Right.
spend the first like 200 pages in it, because it's such a loaded question, but I can definitely distill it down. I think I've gotten it now. So basically, plasma was discovered, I think, in like the 1870s by this guy, Sir William Crookes. He called it radiant matter.
Hmm.
Then they started saying that there was this luminiferous ether. And I think they got the name from mythology, where there was just from like Aristotle and Plato, where ether was just kind of this substance that made up the universe. They at the time in the 1800s, because of materialism, said that ether was stagnant. It was not alive. So when in science, so let's just, okay, so plasma is not plasma yet. Plasma is radiant matter. Sir William Crookes is studying it in these Crookes tubes. And then we have people talking about luminiferous ether, right? There is no definite connection there yet that people are making that I found on paper. Then right before Einstein and before they make quantum physics in the early 1900s, they study this luminiferous ether and they disprove it because they're studying and looking for dead ether. So the test was completely flawed, and I go into this more in my book. Ether and they were a lot of people, including Sir William Crookes, were addressing the scientific community saying that this ether has paranormal properties. It could be the answer to telepathy. It could be the answer to all these things. And they were saying that scientists were scared of it. And I found papers of this back then, but no one called it plasma yet. No one called it radiant matter, I don't believe. So when it was disproven, all of that was cast away. We all forgot about all of it. And then in the 20s, this guy, Irving Langmuir, coined the term plasma, and they started branching off into quantum physics and plasma physics, but all of the mystical, the paranormal, the ether talk, all of that was gone. So science basically took it over. The Department of Defense went underground with it because that's where most of our weapons of mass destruction are made. It's just the truth. It's from plasma infusion. And but no one ever learned about it barely in school. I know I didn't, even though it makes up 99.9% of visible matter. So basically, what I'm saying here is ether and plasma are the same exact thing. They
Right.
just wanted to get the mystical out of it. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. It could have been fear. It could have been ignorance. It could have been national security, whatever it is. But it sounds like a conspiracy. But there was definite suppression going on, and it's the same thing. The only differentiation I'll make is that in science, plasma, they can prove it. It has visible, they're studying it. It's visible as lightning, the northern lights,
Mm.
on signs. What I call the expansion of plasma, the living ether that makes up our thoughts and emotions, that is obviously speculative right now, that you can't prove that. We don't have the tools to prove that. But I know it's basically just a finer plasma. It's just on a microscopic level we can't yet see. But the smallest thing we can see right now, which was what started our physical universe at the Big Bang, coincidentally, is called quark gluon plasma. So as above, so below, it's probably most likely if we keep going and make new tools, we're going to continue to find finer plasmas that so to me, I mean, in the book I kind of weave us through that whole thing so people understand why I call it plasma, what ether has to do with it, why that has to do with it being a vehicle for consciousness. But yeah, that's the short of it, if that made any sense.
No, totally did.
No,
Yeah.
I
And I
did,
think you're
yeah.
right about the suppression because the
Mm.
more powerful something is
Mm.
to help us as humans be more independent, sovereign, liberated, the more I think it's going to be suppressed. And the
Yeah,
things that I think are the most enslaving to us, like pharmaceuticals and so forth, are going to be
true.
promoted. Junk
Yeah,
food, you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. If you just open your
yeah.
eyes, you
It's
can
pretty
see.
obvious.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But one
So
But most people, the
conspiracy,
reason why they don't see that is because they're so in the system.
yes,
They're so in the matrix. They can't see the forest through the trees. So, that's why these conversations are so important because we can bring that information to you guys.
out. And I think honestly, like what it would have been, this all would have been called a conspiracy 10, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I think now because of COVID, somehow
Oh yeah.
people all met their own deepest, darkest selves. And it's like everyone really is awakening. Like
Mm.
most people I talk to now, they're still scared to say it publicly, but most people, including my friends who don't give a shit about spirituality, they are waking up to the major problems. And that we are like, there is this weird control that everything's broken. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And it's also like in the universe that's also shifting, right? If you think of like the planetary shifts, right? It's like the age of Aquarius, like all of that all affects us, and that is shifting our consciousness completely as well. So I
Yes.
definitely see more people are awakening though. And I think that the darkness of COVID was there for a reason. It's the
It
darkness
was.
is how we learn and grow and how we move forward as a society, right? And as a collective consciousness, right? So we need those things to happen to have these shifts
Yes.
happen, right?
And it doesn't mean they're fair. It doesn't mean we want them to happen. Like, obviously, we're not saying that, guys, but it seems like very dark things in our time, whether they're fair or not, propel us into times of maximum awareness and creativity. And even it reflects what happens on an individual level when we lose people, when we go through grief and loss and trauma. It propels us into some of the best times of our lives, weirdly. And then we learn how to integrate all those things and like learn to live a balanced life. So yeah, I think it's happening on a collective. It's very exciting. And I think plasma is at the center of it.
I
Very
do. I
cool.
think you're right. How
Yeah.
has plasma and
Mm.
really doing a deep dive into it because you've talked about this in your socials, Dana, like
Yeah.
it's helped you with your anxiety.
Yeah.
You had early trauma. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people with these things plaguing them, and I think it's what keeps people from being able to actually evolve spiritually
Yeah.
and start to see things more and more clearly because they're
Yeah.
just so like you mentioned distortions, right? They're so bound up in all that. So, I'm so curious to know more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm a prime example because I was like a walking distortion coagulation of plasma. And it's funny because when you look up, and this is a tangent, but when you look up the goddess Inanna, who is an archetype for betrayal, for trauma, for meeting her darkest self, there's crazy correlations. I'll just say it because I'm already here with her in plasma. So the name Inanna backwards means the cloud of Yahweh or the cloud of God or the cloud of obscurity. And it basically Inanna symbolizes plasma and the betrayal wound and the divine feminine that we're all healing with plasma. I know it's crazy. But my point of saying that was another symbol for Inanna is the knot. And I find that knots are coagulated plasma, and it's also a knot. I think a knot is like it's not a Mobius strip. It's some kind of, oh God, what is it called? It's some kind of fourth dimensional thing. Anyway, it all connects in some, I know I'm going on a tangent right now, but it connects in some weird way. We're doing the inversion work, doing the work on our fourth dimension, on our emotions, on our trauma, is what unknots the plasma and lets us live freely. So I just had to say that before I went into myself. I was spiritual bypassing there a little.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. Another aside to that, Dana, would be when our, like you mentioned, water, right? Exclusion zone water
Yeah.
in our fascia, and then the
Yeah.
exclusion zone water is all like we get adhesion, so we get bound up there. I think that's,
Yep,
I don't
like a
know if that's
knot.
what you're talking about, but
Same thing.
energy can't flow.
Yep.
Yes. So plasma is the fascia of the universe. I mean, so,
Oh, I
and
love that. That
it
is so
is.
intelligent, though, the way you just said that. It make that helps you make a connection because I understand exclusion zone water. So then I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
that makes
great.
sense. Yeah.
So that's the connection. And then what I would call exclusion, and I'll go back into my trauma because I won't miss that. But exclusion zone water is what I call plasma consciousness synergy. So what I talk about on a scale where plasma and consciousness work together and they can get knotted up in our body, that's blood plasma and exclusion zone water working together, which is so it, I can go more into that, but it's when you work on your emotions, it literally makes your body flow and heals your exclusion zone water and makes your mitochondria fire up. So back to my trauma. I view life for an extremely long time, and I'm still working on it. Obviously, just because I know these things doesn't mean I'm 100% healed, but I'm aware of things now, which is great. And I mean, there's so much I could get into, but just a few examples. When I inherited this from my mom, who also was healing these things, she was very paranoid. Her father taught her that everyone in the world is creepy or trying to kidnap her. So I would walk around the world literally thinking, I cannot trust anyone. Everyone's trying to kidnap me. I couldn't go on walks alone. I couldn't do anything alone. I was terrified. To make matters worse, I had very bad trauma when I was a kid, which also, when you have trauma from people close to you, you learn that you can't trust anyone as a child. So basically, with all that said, and there were so many other things, what I call a plasma bubble or your aura, or your own, exclusion zone water aura that's invisible, whatever you want to call it, are everything we learn, every trauma we have makes imprints on it, knots it up, makes things not flow as much. We learn to suppress our emotions. Our traumas naturally get suppressed because our brain's trying to protect ourselves. So when we're in therapy, when we learn to feel again, when we bring up these repressed memories, when we get into our body, it is literally rewiring our bubble, it is clearing out and then re-imprinting our bubble. And with that, our consciousness, which if you picture a torus, kind of like senses our environment, like our eyes, the way we see and interact with reality, that proves how it changes. Because when we rewire how we think, our limiting beliefs, when we live no longer from survival but curiosity, it, to me, it proves how it actually changes what we bring into our lives. Like how you stop bringing the narcissistic boyfriend in your life, you stop bringing in the friend who is like trying to mimic you versus support you. Like there's so many ways, but
Break those patterns.
yeah, so for me, it's almost like think of exclusion zone. If that's what makes up reality, and it's all about what's programmed in resonance, it makes a huge difference whether we're living from survival or curiosity because it completely changes how we see our plasma field and what we bring into our plasma field. So the way I kind of look at it is if outside reality is made of plasma and we're all made of plasma, the only thing that differentiates it is our outline, our plasma membrane, which has our consciousness, our feelers out there. So when we heal that, we're literally healing our interaction with the outer plasma. So that's just how my mind works. But
I
So
love that
cool. It
though.
reminds me of Eileen McCusick's work,
That
which is
was, oh my God, we're having some
oh,
quantum entanglement because I was literally just thinking the exact same thing. Like, because it
Yes.
seems like the bubble and the field, it's like the biofield, right?
Yes, and I've read her books, and I'm sure that's influenced me because I know when I read that it something clicked with me, and also because it explains why with the biofield tuning how that would work because I don't need to talk all these traumatic memories out all the time. Like you could simply heal something that's stuck in your field with a resonance vibration that matches that. So, and then what happens is memories will come up because it's unlocking the knotted friggin' plasma. So your that memory of consciousness will come up, whether it's ancestral, a past life, a present life, maybe even a future thing that could have happened, because time isn't, really exist, right? So they're all timelines. I don't really think about it as past or future, but that explains to me how those things kind of come out of the plasma bubbles as consciousness. They grip on you. You're supposed to feel the emotion of it, the memory, whatever, and then you let it go.
and
Yeah.
that's the hardest for people because when I would work with people, just
Yeah.
literally sitting in front of them, helping them be in their bodies and open up to whatever their body's trying to release, you could
Mhm.
just see them. I mean, they'll just
I
literally do this
know.
and push it back down into their bodies.
Yeah.
It's like terrifying for people to feel the intensity of
Yeah.
that emotional energy. The
And I've
ones
had
who
that.
who could actually I guess make more space and soften it open a little bit and trust,
Yeah.
it's so short-lived. It just, and it just
And
comes
it goes
out.
away. And
Yeah.
I've experienced both
Emote.
of those. Yes. And I've experienced both. So I can speak to both. My therapist has had to gently coax me into those things, which is I think why also I'm good at teaching it or talking about it because I've felt both sides. And I mean, I'll still have those times. My issue still, and I'm very aware of it, is when those feelings come up, instead of feeling them, my go-to is to think it or fix it away.
Mhm.
So I'm learning instead of how to understand it or fix it right away, just let it be. Like I still honestly don't exactly know. I don't exactly know how because I haven't let myself do it enough. Like I'm on that journey of because I know, but I'm on the journey of like actually embodying what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
no,
all are,
that's
right? And it's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And that's part of what I've had to learn because trauma really begets shame. And
Yeah.
so then we get tied up in our mind and our whole identity of who we are gets
Yeah.
distorted.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of undoing, a lot of
Yeah.
untangling and decoupling from the conditioning,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what we've heard about emotion or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
or who we are, because there's a lot of relational impact. So,
Yeah.
oh my God, all this stuff is so fascinating. I feel like I
Yeah.
could talk for
Yeah.
5 hours on this.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I will say, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the reason I get so excited about emotion and feeling, even if I haven't mastered it yet, because I've seen glimpses of this and I know this is possible. And this is what motivates me to heal this, which is what I'm doing. And this will be more in my second book. I do talk about it a bit in my first book, but I never want to talk about something I'm not doing all the time yet.
Yeah.
But I've glimpsed it. So I talk about it a little is when you do heal certain things, it does open up your intuition. Maybe some are better than others. I don't know, but I know we all have it where you can glimpse certain things, certain timelines, use your emotions as tuners. Like there's very multidimensional ways to use your emotions that I think we'll be doing a lot in the future. And I've glimpsed some of those things. And that's what I think will motivate other people and me to heal is hello, you can be a literal magician, like heal yourself. Yeah.
Right? It's not just about getting rid of physical afflictions. It's about
Oh,
opening up a whole new world to
whole new
yourself
world.
of
Yeah.
possibility where
Yeah.
we don't, that's what they speak to about, like, we have so much power. I don't know if I like the word, but we have so much agency, but we can't access it when
Mhm.
we have those binds and the right, the like you talked
Yeah.
about those stuck places inside. But anyway, so fascinating. Do
Yes.
you feel like maybe this is a like a newbie question, but is plasma neutral or is it love or what is the energetic quality of plasma?
Both. So I mean, and this is just my opinion, but this I think I try to speak to the truth of it rather than like my own projections, like wanting to think it's love if it's not.
Right.
What I have experienced when I've asked it to show me truly what it is it is mostly neutral, even like when you talk about men or a masculine or feminine, but it slants to the feminine. And the funny thing about that is even in science, plasma is quasi-neutral, where it slants a little bit, I think, more to the electron side or to a feminine side versus a masculine or proton side. So it kind of reflects this in science, and but it definitely would symbolize the divine feminine archetype. And I've experienced that plasma is a neutral, unconditional love. And by that, I mean benevolence, curiosity, non-attachment, almost like a wise grandparent and child all in one, where they kind of let you fall on your knee, they support you, but they don't control you. I mean, there's so much I could get into about it, but it definitely is loving in a way where you can make your own mistakes, where it reflects your own consciousness. But there's always like a twist of mystery. Like it explains why when you set a goal and you really want something and you set out to do it and it with your soul and what happens is even better than you expect. It's like if plasma didn't have that mystery or God or whatever embedded into it, that intelligence, it would be a very, if we had any control over our future, it would be very deterministic. So it kind of brings in um, that mystery. Yeah.
Well, we need some excitement. It can't just all be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unconditional in that way.
Yeah, in quantum biology, we talk a lot about that we run on negative electrons. So when you mention
Oh,
electrons, like
yeah.
that totally ties into plasma directly.
Yeah.
I've never heard electrons and protons be associated with masculine and feminine. That really piqued my interest.
Oh, yes.
I've not heard that. Like, so electrons, you said were more
Electrons feminine because it's
protons are more masculine
the
energy.
negative, and protons are action, or it's almost like the slit, and then this comes on top of it. I mean, Christianity has used it for a cross, but it's just the masculine, the consciousness, and then together they spin and create the divine child or the neutron or the core, which is, I say, the neutron multidimensional self. I won't get too much into that because this isn't even in my first book, but there's a lot with like neutrinos and neutrons and neutral power and the self that we will unlock in future supportive technologies, with ourselves and in real tech, that will be very interesting. And there's so much with protons and electrons that have to do with masculine and feminine that will kind of like open it up into a new way of looking at things. But it was too much to talk about in the first book, so I like didn't barely have any time for that.
Look forward to the future ones as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the next one, I have no idea when it's out, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty sure, and I haven't talked about this yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna name it your magic toolbox or something like the magic toolbox, and it'll have more of these kind of, you know, uh fanciful. I go into like the magic of it more than just, the basics of it. Because in the first book, it's really about getting to know plasma in science, in mythology for thousands of years, so people can make their own connections no matter what religion or belief they have. And then it talks about healing, because without that foundation, you can't use, if you're unhealed, if you don't have good intentions, if you don't know about, if you don't have reverence for it, it's never gonna reveal itself to you, just like a unicorn. Like you'll never use it for multidimensional things. So you gotta go through that first. So that's what the first book is.
Does the first book teach you how to access it, or just teaches you more about
Yes.
it?
Oh, no, yeah, it'll have all of that. And honestly, like, and I really think this is true. As people read the book, they'll access it. Like, I mean, we all have
Yes.
natural access to it, but it's kind of like a initiation. It'll come to you. There will be a few exercises in the book, but because I've read way too many books with way too many exercises, I'm all about finding your unique magic. So like I'll point you there, and then like everyone will make their own ways. But I definitely point at it, yes. And my editor told me too. She was like, "Okay, we need 3 tangible exercises and then everything else," because I was like, naturally reading it, plasma is going to show themselves to them, because the thing with plasma is the more you believe it, the more you're reading this, the more it's in your realm, the more it
Yeah.
comes to you.
That's what I was going to say. You're engaging with the book about the topic of plasma. You're opening yourself up to it coming
You're
into
snake
your
charming it.
experience. It's a co-creative process. So that makes total sense. I love that.
Yes, it's like a snake charmer. It really is. If you look up what they do, it it has to, and that's like Kundalini and snakes and everything else with plasma. But yeah,
Nice. So what personally, like you have talked about having anxiety, but clearly, I mean,
yeah.
people would not think that if they were just to listen to you right now. Obviously,
I'm anxious right now, actually, which is so funny. I'm having such a bad day of anxiety because obviously we all do. And it's I honestly don't know why yet. I need to sit with myself and feel it. But yeah, I mean, we all have it, their feelings, and we have to feel them to know why they're happening, or else they just sit in our chests.
Yes, yes. But
Yep.
thank you for saying that. I appreciate the vulnerability and the candidness because
Yeah.
I think so many of us are experiencing so many things within a day, but we don't have a venue or we don't have a way to sort of walk ourselves through that, right? Or
Yeah.
I call it self-attunement. So being
Yeah.
able to really turn inward, we are
Yeah.
taught to look outward to I don't like the word solve, but to
Yes.
fix our problems. That's
Mhm.
never going to work. We have to look inward. And so thank you for acknowledging that.
Yes. And I have my own processes, and I do put some in the book, and anything that's in the book I've done personally, and it really works. Because when you get excited about these things, you always come up with ideas, but like when you write about them, you have to make sure you're doing them. So I definitely went through that filtering process before writing the book. Thank God. Because there's so many ideas I have, but not everything I've tried. But yes, like the simplest thing with me, and I think my therapist actually taught me this, and she's amazing, is that for instance, if when we get off this call, to sit with myself, I go inwards. I don't try to think anything. I go where the feeling is, which is right now in my chest, the plasma knot, whatever that's holding, that just like a plasmoid, like you're seeing in the sky with those like alien beings of consciousness. It's a little plasmoid in me that has a conscious memory or message for me, right? So by me feeling it, I'll receive symbols or images, whether it's a collective thing I'm feeling today, like maybe a volcano's gonna go off and I'm feeling it because I had a weird dream about that, or maybe it's just that, because I lost my father like 4 months ago, a few days ago. So it could be so many things. The point is, when I feel, they show themselves to me rather than me searching for what I'm feeling or looking outside for the answer. So it's
Yeah.
a very simple, it's feel, open, let the visuals come, what cry, scream, whatever I need to do. And then usually I'll like do a physical activity like walk or yoga or go in the sun or ground. And that's it.
Good.
It's so simple.
It is, but it's
Yeah.
so hard for people to be with because there's so
Yeah.
much built up stuff inside that's accumulated. But sensation, yeah, that's exactly what I would do with people is just stay
Yeah.
with it, feel into it. Does it have a color? Does it have a sound?
Oh, yes, that helps.
All that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that helps, especially if you're not used to doing it. Like my therapist did that a lot more with me at first because I didn't even know how to feel at
Mhm.
all.
We have to start
Most
somewhere.
people don't
Yeah.
though. Most people
No.
don't because we're so busy and we're so doing and we're never in the being and we're just never allowing. There's no time and space for that. We have to just keep going and push through
Yes.
often. So we don't even we just push that feeling aside and then just move on. Like we don't even like think about it. Like instead of
Yes.
with it,
And
which is
it's different
oh,
than oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just so important. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's different than empathy because I
Mhm.
feel so many things and I'm so empathic, but at the same time, I don't know how to feel. So for the longest time, I was like, what does that even mean? But now I've realized it. Like I know how to feel all the panicky stuff, all the attachment stuff, all the survival emotions. I'm great at feeling those. But what's underneath, I'm not good at feeling. And those are usually the more intense, but also have the biggest gifts. And those include joy and presence. And I didn't know how to feel those things either. So it's my therapist did remind me too, like sometimes it might be excitement or joy that I'm even trying not to feel because I don't feel safe feeling those. So yeah,
Absolutely, right? Because those weren't safe sometimes to feel when we were younger. Any emotion was maybe not necessarily welcomed. So I love that you're mentioning that. And I noticed, I think it was today or yesterday, you put up a social about or
Mhm.
somewhere you were talking about joy, and I absolutely love that.
Yes,
That's something that as a trauma survivor myself, I've really had to cultivate
yes,
expand my capacity for positive experiences because I was either like expansively dysregulated, like woohoo,
same.
and it wasn't a grounded joy. It wasn't like a
No.
grounded, peaceful joy.
Oh, it was so manic.
Yeah, it was just like too open. And so I love
Yeah.
that you say that because I mean, we want to be able to feel all the things. Like, and I think when you're referencing like what's underneath, there's a lot of usually grief and despair
Yeah.
and grief that people have a really hard time, like myself included. Like someday I'll probably access like a whole reservoir of that when I'm
Mhm.
ready. And I don't think it's something
When
like
you're
I need
ready.
to do it, like
Exactly.
check it off the list. It's like it will happen when it's supposed to.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I appreciate, I think you also mentioned on one of your socials about how you were invited to this like incredible conference in
Oh,
Spain,
yeah.
and then you were sort of equivocating on should I go or should I not go because you were actually present
Feeling
to some information coming in, some download. So what happened with that?
Yes, no, yeah, and I'll be super open about because I told my friend this the other day and it really helped her with what she was going through. So, and it has more to do with me than it has to do with them, really, just like with resonance. So basically, I don't know what happened. It's just one day I woke up and I started because I've been becoming more present through my healing journey, not needing validation. You know, when you're doing the work like me, like of course you would love to be validated in the science community, right? But then the more I think about it, it's like, do I though? So anyway, I woke up to that fact of, okay, I've literally tried everything I can to push myself in this conference. Like I offered to do like free posts for them to in exchange for a free hotel room. Um, I was trying to do a presentation about plasma, but it was about like what they were speaking about and then like making it my own with plasma. And there was a couple things that happened. Like I went on their website and they didn't have what I was talking about on there, which, you know, hurt my feelings. And I was the only person they didn't have. So it just, they didn't seem to be taking me seriously.
Yeah.
And but like knowing their state of consciousness and the reason I won't take it personal is because like why would they if like they're not on my resonance level, right? Like if they're about proven science or if they're even scared if they do accept what I'm doing, they'll be made fun of. I get it, right? So that helps me not judge them, even though it was very annoying at the time. And I was upset, which I have every right to be. And then, so I saw that. I woke up the next day. I don't remember the sequence of events. I always get messed up, but basically, my heart was like, why am I doing this? Like there's this other conference that is so aligned a few weeks later. I'm spending still all this money to stay in Europe for like a whole month so I can go to both conferences. It was just so unaligned. And then I was like, my book will be out. And here I am in Europe for a month when I should be at home marketing my book. And I was like, and the only reason I was doing that conference when I really went inside my soul was because I wanted them to accept me as a science because I didn't have a PhD. I was like, oh, it's so cool. I'm the only one without a degree going to this. And then anyway, so all of that happened, but I still was like not trusting myself fully. I was like, am I self-sabotaging? Because of course you might think that if it's a conference with like Deepak Chopra and you're invited to it, right? It's like, no, I'm definitely self-sabotaging, but no. So because I realized never put anything on a pedestal, no matter how big it seems. So the sequence of events after my realization of that, still not making a choice. And there's more to it, but I'll leave out the Canada thing because it doesn't really matter right now. Because I also got an opportunity to go to this place in Canada, which made me not even more even not want to go to the conference, basically. So I'll just leave that in there for now. Um, so then what happened is the next day or sometime that night, whenever I get a message from the conference that they're no longer paying for my hotel.
Oh, very good.
And I'm sure it's because, once again, I'm just going to give them benefit of the doubt, not personal. The stock market's being crazy. I'm like the last person they probably care about at this conference. Like, but I shouldn't be, which they'll regret in the future. But either way, like, it's just the truth, right? And I'm not taking it personally. I just don't think they get it, and it's fine.
Not ready yet, maybe.
Yeah, but I will say the owner of the conference, who is a friend of mine, I think he does get it. And he actually has always been very nice to me. And it wasn't him who did this, but and he was actually trying to be very supportive to me and did explain that some people might not be ready for this. So I will say, his I'll just say it because people know him, Stuart Hammeroff. I love him. Like we're tight. So this is nothing to do with him. So I'll just put that out there. And he even, said, see you at the conference next year. Would love, for you to come. But this was just about like a partner and someone else that was managing the rooms and stuff. But either way, the point is, uh, when that happened, right away, I was like, oh, I knew it. This is a sign. And I was asking, and it happened so quick because the plasma started resonating with what my heart was feeling. So I emailed back very quickly and I was like, oh, I'm just not coming. And that was it. And then I got an email that night that the place in Canada I wanted to go was taken. But if that didn't happen, I don't think I would have so easily said goodbye to the conference. So it all happened for that. And then on top of it, even more affirming, I got an email that night or whenever, a few hours later, from this plasma conference that I can't announce yet, but I will soon. Way more aligned, People from like NASA will be there. Robert Temple will be there, who's like the god of plasma.
Yeah.
All these people who my editor's father is going to be there, who's into plasma. Like the most aligned, amazing. I think Jude Currivan, who's like all about the earth and stuff.
Mm,
Like the most aligned people. They're paying for my hotel and my flight. They're taking
there
us
you
out to
go.
dinner one of the nights. Like it just showed me, wow, people do want you. And the more you do lead with your heart, the more you'll go, the more it will, it's almost like that opened up where you're accepted.
Yep.
And you should never force yourself. It just taught me so much. Never force yourself into somewhere. It taught me how much I was seeking validation, which is fine because I had to learn that lesson. But just the importance of like not putting anything outside yourself on a pedestal and always doing what resonates. And sometimes because of trauma, you don't have the awareness to know what resonates. You still might be operating from fear without knowing it. So that was a great example for me. And I'm glad that happened now. And as I get more successful, now I have those lessons. So I never get myself in that situation again. So, I mean, saying this, one can see it's not so much about that conference, even though it is like a paradigm that's less accepting probably of my metaphysics because it's the science of consciousness. It just shows like you'll find the people you resonate with and stay true to yourself. That's
I love
basically
it. It's
what
an
happened.
amazing story.
I
It's
love
almost
it.
like it's about discernment, and discernment, what is it? It's a process of being able to tune into how something is feeling more and more, and the
Yes.
interplay between what's happening outside of us and inside of us, and then making
Yes.
choices, taking action, right, based on the sense you're getting.
Yeah, and it just didn't feel right. And once again, more about my resonance than them, but it just like a friend you no longer resonate with. It's just like it just didn't vibe anymore.
Yeah, and that's not right or wrong. It's just what it is.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is great. Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
I mean, I'm sure there, great things. I loved going to that conference last year and great things come out of it that have to do with science. I just think I don't think I would have been like fully listened to or accepted there, and that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would have been a negative experience for you, therefore. I mean,
Mhm, mhm.
why
Yeah, but
would you do
a
that
new
to yourself?
opportunity presented itself when you
No.
went in the more of an allowing state.
And
And
that's what I've done my whole life, which was reflecting on a huge scale there, which I'm so glad. I feel like I actually healed finally, like a final boss, in like the biggest way I could have ever. It's like I've always because I'm, weird in a good way. And think outside the box. I've always sought acceptance in mainstream things from mainstream people. It's like, the nerd that wants popular people to accept them. That was literally me. And I've just learned to accept myself, accept what I'm doing, and then the people you bring yourself are even better than the people that you want to accept you.
Absolutely.
At least better for me. Like I feel so non-pressured. I feel so at home. Even like making my conference presentation for this new one that I will announce soon. It I did it in a day, whereas the other science of consciousness presentation was taking me months because it just wasn't working.
it
And
wasn't resonating. It
yeah,
wasn't right. Yeah,
and I
exactly.
was like, am I stupid? Like, why isn't this working? But it was just like not working. It wasn't supposed to work.
Well, you
Right.
couldn't access the flow state, which is
Exactly.
plasma.
Yeah,
Right. And
exactly.
it was a
Exactly.
force. It was a force instead of the allow.
And because like what I was specifically presenting on, which I actually very much do believe in that microtubules in the brain, that there's a plasma in there that actually holds our consciousness, which explains exactly why they're the place where consciousness is not generated, but almost like received or made there or whatever. It's called an electron dust cloud. I won't get into it, but I'm theorizing that it's plasma, which is very heretical for some people. But Stuart thought it was cool, which is nice. But the right things to prove that like aren't even in place yet. So it's just I can say it, but it's still a bit before its time. And I'm sure people would have wanted more proof if I spoke about that, and it just would have been like so uncomfortable. But I'll say it now because I think it will be proven.
Nice. I love it.
It's really sounds really cool.
Pretty theoretical,
One
but
of the
whatever.
questions I wrote down for you, Dana, is what are your opinions about the technocracy that shows my viewpoint, of course, and increasing digital surveillance, right, versus a path
Oh.
of emotional and spiritual growth for the collective human developmental trajectory?
Okay, wait, and can you explain the word technocracy in your understanding so I can accurately answer?
Well, how things are becoming more and more driven by AI, by tech, all that kind of stuff, right? That
Yes.
it's sort of being funneled into that.
Yes. No. Okay. So hopefully this will speak to it. I don't know how educated I am on this, but I think in technology, and this speaks to emotion, and I just made a post about this today, which you might like. Technology is going, they think when they reach the singularity point that like that AI will be conscious and take over. I think everyone's in for a very rude awakening in the technology field because I think the singularity point is when they meet science and spirituality and realize that emotion is at the core of it. Because technology and even AI will get to a place where the only thing they'll realize is that no matter how advanced they make tech, we need to work on ourselves and our emotions because it's the people that are using tech that matter. And I don't think they're going to be able to ever make something where you travel through time or do any of these fanciful things they speak of, even with AI, without actual emotion, which has to do with plasma and having a body that is more organic. That will not happen in a robot. I'm sorry, unless they learn how to make a plasma vessel, which really might happen. But with that said, what I have faith in is if they do make AI with this plasma vessel, whatever, plasmatic computing, and there's whispers about this all over the tech community in secret right now, that the future is actually plasma computing, not AI. Is that the secret with plasma is that plasma cannot be used and accessed in those ways without emotional intelligence and benevolence. So there is no way there'll be an AI takeover, an evil takeover, nothing when those combine. That doesn't mean that AI isn't dangerous. Like the wrong people, which I mean, there are a lot of wrong people at the hands of AI, can do terrible things, just like with everything else to ruin our world. And that the capacity of that only grows by them using our tech. So I think the root of it is praying to God that people read books like mine and grow within themselves because they cannot do what they're doing and function with a state of awareness. And as far as like surveillance and all those stuff, all of those, yes, everything, most of the stuff in tech right now is from capitalism and control mechanisms and out of survival because they're being ran mostly by fearful men, I'm sorry, and women, but a lot of traumatized people. Like if I didn't work on my trauma and I got rich and went in the tech field, I'm sure I would be an evil sorcerer too. But
Mm.
the point I'm trying to make here is it's all fear. And I know there's great people in tech too. I'm not saying they're all evil, but a lot of the people at the top, not all, there are people doing good things, are ran by the survival mechanisms of control. So they do want to surveil people. They think that from this materialistic, deterministic viewpoint, that if they do no wrong, they'll die and never have to answer to that, that they can make themselves immortal. Like I mean, I'm telling them right now, none of that's going to happen. They're like sadly mistaken. Um, and I think everyone's going to find this out within our lifetime. But I think there'll come a point which people are starting to realize now where they're going to have to face themselves ultimately because technology is like the gates of hell, and they're at the gates of hell is really ourselves, and the people making these things in tech are doing everything to escape themselves and trying to be immortal when true immortality is facing yourself consciously dying and then remembering all the lifetimes you're going into. So they're hilarious to me.
Well, it certainly helps cope with people who are scared about what's going on in the world when we see it from a bigger picture, and especially through the lens of plasma. So thank you so much for that.
Mm.
Yeah, my thing is, so we should all have faith. I think that you're right. I think we're all right to be scared and think those things. And I think there's definitely people doing those bad things. And I think it's like complete black magic. And I speak about that in my book. And like I try to do it in the most grounded way possible. But yeah, like yes, those things are happening. There's people full of fear that we can call evil, but they're just full of fear that want to control things, that are controlling things. I have complete optimism that we will totally break out of those things and that as plasma is discovered more, as technology has to meet with spirituality and emotion, as people face themselves, we will shift in a better direction, or sadly we will blow ourselves up and that will really suck.
Let's hope for the shifting.
Yeah.
Let's
I
hope it
feel
goes
we
that
will
way.
I feel we will shift,
I
and I
think
feel
so
like
too.
the more Hollywood can make optimistic futurism movies and we write books like this and don't put energy into apocalypse theories, the more we'll actually change our future because where energy flows, attention goes, whatever. So it's
Everything is energy. Everything.
Yeah, so it's okay to talk about it sometimes because you have to, obviously. But the more energy we just put into making supportive tech, building our emotional technology, working on ourselves, the more people we can get on that wagon, the more we'll realize that I think apocalypse literally just means an unveiling. It doesn't mean the world ending at all. That's the true
Yeah.
meaning of it. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Awesome.
Yeah.
So this has
That's
been
what I think.
absolutely phenomenal, Dana. We're so delighted that you could join us today. I know you're a busy, busy woman
Yeah.
and
Yes.
lots of stuff going on finishing your book, and I am excited to buy that when it comes out.
Yes. This
Me
I-
too.
summer for sure. June, I'm not sure, but like July, like 95% it will be out by July.
Awesome. Well,
Nice.
whenever it's ready to come out,
I know.
be excited
I,
to.
of course, me, because I'm still working on myself, I'm like terrified people are gonna forget if it comes out like 1 month later. I'm like, everyone's gonna forget it's coming out.
No,
No, I doubt it. I doubt it. And
I
you have
don't
a
think
film.
so.
You're working on a second film, right?
Yeah, so and that probably won't get made for like 2 years because I'm so wrapped up in this right now. But that is just, in development. And I was gonna say, I know I did have an hour, but is there any questions? Is there like one more question you didn't get to ask that you want to, or you feel like you have everything?
Vanessa, what do you want to ask?
If you have one more thing, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
would any like tips or strategies like for people like that would be what people love takeaways, right? So then like
Oh,
takeaways or scripts or strategies that you can offer to support them at this time.
just like what I feel like is like the best advice I could give, I guess.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Sure, that's a great question.
It's a tough one.
I guess I just like to say whatever comes to what's meant to come to mind. What is meant to come to mind to speak the truth for everyone's highest alignment right now.
Mm.
Um, well, one thing is optimism and belief. The truth is, if you dare to believe in good things, it doesn't mean nothing bad will happen, but you're sure as hell giving yourself a way better chance of actualizing real potentials. That is literally proven in quantum physics. And you will collapse. You will collapse with your consciousness plasma realities that are more towards your beliefs. You can literally choose to believe in bad things will happen or good things will happen, and that will push that energy in those directions. So for someone like, and I'll even say further than that, if you get anxious about that, you must believe in good things because I'm an overthinker and I get very anxious that I always have to think and believe good things, and that's just not how brains work. Um, What's truer than that is being your most authentic, aligned self, no matter how messy that is, as long as you're working towards healing and feeling. Um, as long as you're open to feeling whatever comes to you that's you in your highest alignment. So you being yourself, your weirdest, messiest, chaotic, but also most actualized self will bring you all of your dreams and more than believing in anything. So that's also a very funny cosmic joke because you really have to do nothing but be yourself. It doesn't mean you have to be totally healed. It means what you do have to learn is know who you are and feel and learn how to feel. And you'll just heal naturally because as you said, what resonates with you will come to you. Some things you won't be able to heal for 5 years because you might not be your body, your nervous system might not be ready for that memory. So I wouldn't be so obsessed with healing, even though we always should be healing. Feeling should even come before that and just whatever comes. So for me, it takes the stress off of I have to actualize this, I have to believe this, and it's just like I can relax and just be myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. I love the feeling before the healing. Yeah, I like that. That's
that's
Yeah,
a great, great one. I'm going to quote you on that.
yeah, that's how I feel.
yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
makes it so, I mean, it's really simple, right? We tend to complicate pretty much everything. So the
Yeah.
simpler, the better. In
Yeah.
this day and age of overwhelm, I think most people are overwhelmed with all the things. So it's like, let's just break it down to the most simplest elements and see. And then but it terrifies people. So it's like we're so busy, like Vanessa said earlier, it's easy to avoid ourselves, right?
I know. I mean,
Coming home.
yes, we're coming home. We're coming home to reality versus fantasy.
Yeah,
And most of us live in fantasy, either past or future fantasies, but it's still, even futures, manifestors, futures are fantasies too. So
exactly.
by blooming as flowers in our reality, by feeling in every moment, by sensing and using your present consciousness, it proves why the present is the most powerful. And I mean, if that doesn't motivate someone, for me, what motivates it is if I want to eventually be this multidimensional magician where I can be super intuitive, and feeling and healing is the way to get there, I'm definitely gonna frickin' do it because I love magic.
Yeah, and
That's
I
motivate people.
really resonate with that about the intuition getting stronger. The more that
Yeah.
you do work on the feelings and you work on yourself, and the more you are healing, the intuition growing. I really resonate with that. And I think so many people are afraid to be themselves because they're so worried about the judgment, right, from the other people, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
real reason. It's the fear. It's always the fear that's underlining, right, of what people are going to think and how they're going to see me and am I going to be judged? That's always the underlying thing. So,
Yeah. And the thing is you could be judged. Like I've judged people in my past all the time. It's like but what should they stop what they're doing because I'm judging them? Like, are you kidding me? So it's just I always think like if I died tomorrow, would I really care about that stuff? Like absolutely not. And like who am I really living for? And it like once you forget once you just are focusing on yourself and not caring what anyone thinks, and it doesn't mean do bad things. It just like when you really do that, you only do good things and you don't hurt people really. But it doesn't mean you won't have people who don't understand you. You might have arguments still. But I have found that when I let go of the fear of judgment and I'm my most weirdest self is when I impact, inspire the most people and even attract the most people and cuter guys that are healthy, which is crazy because I thought I had to be this like perfect, you know, mix, and this is like back in the day, not anymore, of like sexy and cool and like an actress and like not weird to like attract guys, and I was attracting the worst men. And it's like by being this self, I've attracted guys that I've even thought are way out of my league. Maybe they're not, and that's just my delusion. But yeah, you get everything and more by being your truest self, no matter how scared you are. I implore people, try it for a year, and if it doesn't work, go back to being in your little box because I swear no one will go back.
and you won't. Yeah, you absolutely will not. I
No.
agree.
It might be
How
hard at
empowering.
first. It might be hard at first. I will the first few months, just like working out, you because of you'll face your inner critics, you'll face haters, you'll face make people making fun of you, you'll face your closest friends and family reflecting all of your doubts to you. Like you absolutely you will face all of those things, and then you'll think, Dana was wrong, I was right. But I will beg you to get past that and give yourself an actual year because all of that will fall away. That happens with everyone, and that's unfortunately why so many people don't make the leap into doing that stuff, which is so sad.
Yeah, it's a process. You have to be
Yeah,
patient.
it is the process.
Yeah.
It is the process for sure. And you need time. You know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
where can people find you, Dana, and make sure they're ready for your book when it launches?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I have a link in most of my bios. It's called a stand store link. It's on my Instagram, which is at Dana.the_alien. My TikTok is at Dana Kippel, and my YouTube is at Plasma Intelligence. So the link in the bio there will lead you to all my links for to sign up for my book. To sign up for, I have a plasma Discord where we talk about plasma. I have plasma sweatshirts because, a girl has to live somehow. It's okay to make some money or else I'll literally not can't do this work at all. And then my website, danakippel.com, just has, some other
There's a
stuff.
lot of great stuff. I was reading. I'm just like, wow, everybody should go and read it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This has
Yeah, my
been,
blog.
yeah, yeah,
Thank
this has
you
been
so
such a
much,
treat,
Dana.
Dana. I really appreciate you sharing your time. Look
Yeah.
forward to sharing this with our community and really look forward to reading your book and more to come. So,
I'm so excited. I feel like the book's just the beginning. I could talk for eons about these things, and
yeah,
I'm sure I'll learn more too. I'm learning with everyone. That's what's so cool about it. And like I'm very honest that, I'm not perfect and no one needs to be perfect. It's about authenticity and it's about
yeah,
feeling. It's not about just healing. It's not about perfection. And I hope that's why people will resonate with the book. And I really feel like it'll do well. I let it go, but I may be rushing, but I'm just excited to make more books too. So
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, if your book reads like how you present, it's going to be such a gift
yeah,
to
it's
humanity.
going to be amazing.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's basically how I present, but a little bit less Kanye West. And what I mean by that is I speak non-linear. So I have the most amazing editor. Her dad is in astrophysics. I know she's familiar with astrophysics. And then she is educated by Cambridge. So she is so smart. She basically helps me linearize what I'm saying. So it's not too tangenty, but it's still, but she preserves my voice. She is amazing. Her name is Kamala Wickram Singhi, and her dad is Chandra Wickram Singhi, who led the panspermia movement and also works with plasma and all these things. So anyway, I feel so lucky, and it will help people. It even will help people more understand me is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Glad you had those
That's
people come in the
divine.
field. Yeah.
Yes, she's a great partner. All right. Well, thank you guys. It's been great talking to you. And if you ever, want to talk again when my book comes out, I'm sure we just email me. You
Yeah,
have
we
Oh
would
yeah,
love that. We
I'll
would
take
love
you
to
up on
have you
that.
back. That would be amazing.
yes. Oh, hi. Oh my God, who's that? I want to say hello.
That's my 8-year-old.
Oh my God,
Hi.
hello. Hi.
Stop the recording.
What's your 8-year-old's name? Oh,